You're watching TSU-TV 98.
I love this.
Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Black Thought, where we will open up your mind and keep it there. I'm your host, Fly.
And I'm your host, Tony.
And today we'll be talking about the topic of gun control and how it affects us as Americans.
And even go a little bit further than gun control, we're actually going to talk about gun violence, the gun violence that follows gun control, as well as Congress' view on gun control and President Obama's.
But before that, let's see what's cooking in the kitchen with Keisha. Keisha?
Hello, everybody. How you doing? I'm your girl, Keisha, and I welcome you to my kitchen. Today, I will be discussing some silly correlations to gun violence and why people should shoot themselves. But first, I got a joke for you. What did the ignorant uncle name his niece and nephew? I'll wait. The niece and the nephew. Get off the stage, Keisha. Your punchlines are you know nothing. Anyways, back to the subject matter at hand. It's just something so unsettling about innocent people getting killed at the hands of some simple mofo. Then they always got some crazy excuse like, I blame it on Grand Theft Auto. I was playing the game so intensely and it got real. Shoot yourself. You were playing Grand Theft Auto, a game about drug dealers, mobsters, and prostitutes. A bunch of high school kids sitting in the lunchroom ain't have nothing to do with that. You just an angry, weak-minded mofo. You should stay far from them war games, child. And also, enjoy being that creepy dude in the prison cafeteria that nobody wants to sit next to. Same as high school, huh? The irony! Shoot yourself! Now, it could be me, but 2012 marked the rowdiest year in America in my lifetime and since 9/11. Children dying in such large numbers teared at my soul. People shot up movie theaters, shot up the mall, they shot up in elementary school. All that shooting, and they didn't think to shoot themselves. I mean, it would have made it much easier. Before you go trying to take a cherished life because you mad at the world, shoot yourself. Let's see, what will make somebody want to shoot up a movie theater? I guess it had to be that one girl who laughed too loud, too long at the things that wasn't funny to nobody but her. Yeah. That had to be it. Stop it. Yeah, that sucks. Or maybe it was the single mama with the crying baby, or the kissing couples, or the tall man's knee nudging at the back of your chair. I mean, all those bad memories must have been too much to cope with. You just had to kill him, right? Shoot yourself. Shoot yourself. I don't really know though. I can only guess, correlate. But before you go shooting up the club because you mad at your baby mama for having another baby by your sister's baby daddy's uncle, other nephew, little brother, shoot yourself. I know it's tough trying to make something out of nothing in this world. But robbing a store, then taking the life of gunning down the store clerk just so you can feed the fam, it's just stupid. You're dumb. It don't work like that. So, shoot yourself. Shoot yourself, son. Know what I mean? Your family is starving. And honestly, you are the sole provider, so get a job. Not a life sentence. Not only will the family be starving, they'll be struggling to pay up on your commissary. The irony. Shoot yourself. Gun violence is the worst mechanism for problem solving, except when used in self-defense. Thou shalt not kill, but thou shalt put a bullet in your hole. Don't bring no mess around me. Who you finna drive, huh? Shoot yourself. basically saying is people kill for some stupid petty reasons. They got all this built up frustration inside they can't deal with, so they get to shooting. They don't want to play crazy, or worse, innocent. You can't believe a word that comes out of a killer's mouth. Lie comes before kill. They should just shoot themselves. Figuratively speaking, they should shoot themselves 3 times, or maybe 5. Stop the violence, get some gun control, and if you see a dude walking in front of the movie screen with a gas mask on, everybody gets a ducking. Shoot yourself. Shoot yourself.
Senior mass communications at the Tennessee State University. First of all, it's a couple, the senior Tennessee State mass communication with a focus of media management.
Yes, I would love to be able to consult in social media as well as media management. I feel like there's this big wave going on in social media that's affecting a lot more than we are seeing. So I definitely like to start, engineering my own things.
Well, I'd say good luck with that. Congratulations,
Thank you.
senior. Get out
I
of
appreciate
here.
that. I appreciate that, man.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
man.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess just to start off with gun control, I think we need to start off with the C first, and that's the Second Amendment, man.
This is the Second Amendment.
And the Second Amendment reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms will not be infringed. Man, but before we kind of break down what that means, I think we need to make it understood that they had a completely different mindset than we did. Like, even just as an example, they had completely different weaponry than we did. Like, they didn't have assault weapons back then. Like, they had a little musket.
You had to
how you shoot a musket?
get the the gun powder, then the gun salt, pour it all in there, and then you gotta get the thing and stuff it down, load it, light it, hope it lights, hope it doesn't backfire, and you got one shot. So, that's it. You got one shot.
Yeah.
And it took actually about, close to a minute and a half to 2 to 3 minutes to actually even reload. Now today you have weapons that are firing, 40, 50 rounds within 2-3 seconds.
Right.
So it's totally different. Well, first you got to understand where gun control and the gun control laws really come from, other than the Second Amendment. It was taken a step further by the Black Panther Party, believe it or not. With the Black Panther Party, they believe that we are a well-regulated militia. And they believe that we need to police the police. Yeah. We're getting beaten. Police aren't coming. And there's something that we need to do about it. So they took up arms, and they formed a well-regulated militia, and they stormed the streets. And, so Reagan, of course, wasn't too excited about this, or any other president. So the Republicans started a strong stance on gun restriction. They went out and made sure Clinton one of the ones, and he stopped imports on assault rifles. Bush started imports, the first Bush, he stopped imports on sniper rifles, imports to the country. So many presidents have done many things, as well as Congress. Even the National Rifle Association has spoken to Congress 3 to 4 or 5 times, including the National Firearms Act in 1938, to prevent certain weapons, military graded, from being put into the public.
Right. With
no restrictions, with no background checks, no classes or anything. So it goes to the main question: who's allowed to have weapons?
I think that even kind of goes into the collective right theory, which is, pretty much just taking gun control and breaking it down to 2 angles. You either have people who believe that the government should control guns and the military should be the main benefactor of protection for its citizens, or should the people have the guns?
And see, that's where really comes to conflictions within Congress. President Obama, with the strong restrictions that he's trying to lay on gun control, to cut down gun violence, because like I said, we are in a violent time with weaponry beyond our massive amounts. So you have sniper rifles, they can hit pinpoint accuracy with 1,500 yards.
Right.
That's 15 football fields, and they can hit directly on target. So that goes to slightly end it off, with the first part of our Let's Talk segment, with a quote from Benjamin Franklin. He said that the specialty of the Second Amendment is that it will not be necessary until it's taken away. I'm Tony Fournier, and this is Black Thought.
And I'm your host, Fly.
We'll be right back.
What the devil? What she think she doing? Hey, gun in here. No, don't you bring that gun in here. Don't you bring that gun in here. Yeah, get the step in. Get the step in, get the step in. Keep your arm, original, keep your arm, get the step in, get the step in,
You know,
Okay.
little stance, I just want to hear opinions over.
Okay.
Well, we talked about the mindset and the different weaponry that we have now than we had in, 1770,
Right.
well, technically 7081, when the
Yeah.
Constitution was made. So, one of the first things we want to discuss, let's discuss military-graded weapons versus non-military-graded weapons. I would say first and foremost that what qualifies a military-graded weapon? Well, each weapon has a classification, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and it goes up to level 5. Well, of course, the level 5 are, the strongest of the military weapons. Like, these are the weapons that, rocket launchers are hitting pinpoint accuracy 2,500 feet, beyond theirs, as well as certain assault rifles.
Right.
Opposed to level 3, 2, and 1, which is, I love to go hunting, but, it's your shotguns, your rifles, your handguns, and your protective weapons. So, should the public be able to purchase military-graded weapons?
No.
Right.
There's no need for a residential to carry a military issue firearm. There's nothing with that much necessity that you should feel you have to protect yourself from. Not in the neighborhood where there's somebody walking their dogs. What do you need 60 rounds in your clip for? It's unnecessary.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, personally, how I feel, just even going back to say, like, back then, like, they didn't have assault weapons. So, like, I'm almost venturing to say that the murder rate, especially what I'm hearing today, it was way lower than now.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it's kind of like, do we really need a gun that we could come bring to the school, pretty much kill everybody we wanted to within an hour or so? Like, we literally could kill every student on campus.
I don't think the thing is, like, I don't think anybody would want that. Like,
Goes to next one. I'll go ahead and start you off.
Go ahead. Now, go ahead.
Because it's actually our next point. It goes, and he had so many rounds. You have to understand, 21 children were just slaughtered.
Yeah.
And it goes to, why did he need, and he had more weapons in his car, as well as his house, as well as thousands upon thousands of rounds of ammunition, extended clips, laser pointers, scopes and everything. So, Sandy Hook, do you think it would have been prevented or maybe slightly altered if there was restrictions on military-graded weapons?
Well, I'm not sure if it exactly would be restricted, but really, more or less, it's like it's how someone can get to those guns. It's the availability that's presented. Like when a lot of talks were being discussed, it was the parents, the mother, who all introduced him to that lifestyle of what a gun can do, and how that was monitored. If you're going to open up someone's mind, to the possibilities, I believe you're the responsible one to monitor what happens. The effect that has on a younger person.
I definitely agree with that.
And it's just, you just sit here and you just look, not just Sandy Hook, but it goes to our point number 3. And I think it's a very important point. Chicago crime rate. Now, Chirac. And that's another thing we're going to touch on too, Chirac. But right now, let's touch on the crime rate.
Okay.
Just the crime rate. Chicago, having many families from Chicago, and understanding just the mindset.
Yeah.
Thing is, in my opinion, I feel like to get a military-graded weapon, you should be able to go to the black market and not Grandeur Mountain, to Walmart to get an AK instead of, meeting a guy. So, do you think that restrictions on gun control could possibly maybe help or, decrease Chicago crime?
Well, being a native from Chicago, I can say this, that within Chicago, it's not necessarily about what's going on outside of Chicago, because in Chicago, it's about what goes on in Chicago. Yeah. It's like its own government. As everything is cycling within itself. So if there's more, as I was saying previously, it's about taking the availability away. You can't always time down someone's you can't always time down someone's economic state. So we never know what truly is driving this force. There's a lot of bad things, a lot of things that can open up opportunity to the mindset. But the fact that you would need a firearm, a military firearm, to take care of whatever grievances you have with somebody, Nah,
That's just, I mean,
nah.
like, it's really, like, no excuse for it. Like, and I think that even goes to say, kind of like you were saying, you know, how, I guess, can we change, like, the mindset going in, like, when, like, just as you say, like, they've been raised and conditioned to think this
Yes,
way.
yes,
So how would you
yes.
even go in, like, with a topic like gun control and, you know, try to make change?
I mean, it's gonna take more definitely than just what one person would say. You know, it's how one would relate to the message of being warded off, wanting to pick up a firearm. You know, when you're hearing from somebody who you feel has no idea or any relating to your lifestyle, it's words. You know, it's just words, and I can actually see that. So it would definitely take some people with voices, not just necessarily stronger, but more prominent in our social state right now.
And you brought us to our next point. The news media and how it portrays gun violence, gun talk, and gun control.
Personally, I don't feel like the news itself, like, I think, you know, I don't really think they really paint the picture of gun control. To be honest, like, as I watch the news, I would say that, you know, the actual on what, like, with the military weapons, I think, of course, you know, they'll talk about gun violence, which is different than gun control. But, like, at the same time, I don't think they talk about gun control.
And to even go just a step further, it's one of the main reasons of the media is they're making it a racial issue. Now, going to the facts that of all gun owners, 41% are white, Caucasians.
Okay.
Of the 41%, over 54% of them live in the South. So is it a culture thing? Is it, you know, like how's it viewed?
I mean, guns. Who doesn't like seeing stuff in movies blow up? Who doesn't like? Who doesn't like? You know, all of that is nice. So I think that part is a part of the culture, but how much we consume them, no, that's a choice. That's a choice. Just like pulling the trigger, it's just a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. So I guess kind of even hitting there, social media. Do you think that, like, Twitter, maybe Instagram, you know, I've been on, you know, I'm not a big Twitter, Instagram person, but I've been on there. I've seen pictures with, you know, people with guns, you know, assault rifles just everywhere, like, laid out.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm feeling like, does that have a big influence on maybe how we as a society view guns?
Well, I would say this. When somebody has the ability to promote for something big, an event, right? People look at that person for who they are, and if they're valid enough to even say that this is going to be a worthful event. I think it would take the same thing for somebody to say, hey, it's not worth picking up this gun.
Man, I definitely, like, I really have nothing else to add. Like, I don't feel like social media is obviously not the problem. I think, okay, you're cool on Twitter and your gun, but that's like, with all the issues going on, that's not the biggest problem. No. And I don't think it's not even like a big influence.
It's just added just a little bit more fuel to the fire.
Like,
but the thing is, the problem is putting out the fire.
Yes.
So, so that's one of our main things that, you know, we're kind of looking into, how the media looks at it. But also, how can the local government and civilians take action to prevent rapid gun violence in their own community?
I would say the same way they take action to clean up, to be eco-friendly. It's going to take more people to be a part of a plan. It's going to take a movement to actually take effect. You know, just what it is.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think that, like, it's more than just, you know, just guns. Like, my main thing is, like, I love guns. Like, say, you know, being a Southerner, I love guns. But my thing is, I understand that if everyone has access to military-graded weapons, if everyone has access to rocket launchers, sniper rifles, AK-47s, M16s, extended clips, you know, like, all free accessibility with no restrictions, no classes taken, no background check, no, you know, coming up, you know, make sure you're still stable. I believe that that's ludicrous.
That is ludicrous.
It is. And even to go ahead and, before we go ahead and wrap this segment up, I just want to end off with one quick quote. And before I get that quote, President Obama, I want to touch on him and his view. He basically he understands, like, first thing, he understood the hearts of the Sandy Hook victims. You know, he was even crying on national TV because it hurts to just imagine 21 children bodies hauled off, you know, and slaughtered.
From an elementary.
Oh yeah, so to end it off real quick, we're going to end off with a quote from President Obama. He said, "We will not be able to stop every violent act, but if there is even one thing that we can do to prevent any of these acts, we have a deep obligation to try." And this is Black Thought. I'm going to kind of wrap things up. Before we left off, we were talking about social media and how that, you know, gun control and gun violence is portrayed on social media, how President Obama views social, you know, like gun control and everything, you know, Sandy Hook as well as Chicago's murder rate. Well, one important thing, especially on Black Thought, that we need to talk about is music. Because I think music is one of the most influential things, like, to all races.
Right,
So
it is.
My question is, first, does music have a big influence on gun violence that we see today?
And first, music has a huge influence on gun violence today.
I have to 100% agree.
Like, I don't think literally I've heard a song, like, not talk about a gun, like, in like 2-3 years. Like, they got to talk about it somehow. You might not be killing somebody, but they going to talk about a gun. And so, it's kind of like, matter of fact, I wanted to pose this question to y'all. Like, if they did provide stronger regulations on gun control, how different do you think the music would be? Because then, like, technically, they wouldn't be able to talk about these assault weapons that we have.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I actually heard a Future song the other day, not even call Future out, but it's just something like I heard for the first time.
Okay.
And he was like, "You got a brand new gun, you hadn't killed no one." You know, he's like laughing, like, "You haven't killed no one yet." You know, like, are we still waiting? You know, you just brandishing your, you know, and it's just,
like,
what are we trying to portray? Like, is a life nothing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you must understand, like, when you have these weapons, like, the power that you hold, I understand it's power, but you have to use it. To my thing, if you only have a gun for protection, you need a little Walter PPK. To me, and the Walter PPK is no bigger than my note cards right here. It's a little small. You know, it's protection, it's a weapon. You don't need, you know, assault rifles for protection. You know,
like, are you that weak?
And even here with music, like, I think music will definitely have to lighten up.
Yes.
Almost 100% lighten up, because the environment and, like, the culture that spread within, especially the hip hop rap community, with the guns, is just so vivid. You'll see them on music videos. You know, it's in lyrics. It's in, you know, album covers, and it's just like, what is the ultimate message are we sending? Are we just destroying ourselves?
And not even to ask like a question, because then we could easily do that, but to kind of just tie this in what we were talking about earlier, like with Chicago crime rate, and then you have artists, and you being from Chicago, so I kind of want to know your input. You have artists like Chief Keef, you know.
Promote Chirac. And that's one of the biggest things, Chirac, and I was just...
And not even just that, but like, you know, their biggest excuse is always that we're from this area. So, you know, guns like this and things that we do, like, that's just how it is. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I heard a quote from an anonymous person one time, and they said, and this was in correlation to them legalizing such things as marijuana.
Yeah.
They said, if you go ahead and tell the government, legalize weapons, right?
Right.
But the thing is, you couldn't make any more songs, including any type of indication that weapons are being used, you know. And so when I think about that, I think that it's not just what they're portraying and putting out, because I understand it's music and it's entertainment, but it's what you do afterwards. That's the thing. Like, and if there's nobody speaking up on the aftermath of what it affects, because they just want to keep up something as silly as an image, you know, then they're not helping anybody.
And
you know?
what's the image that you're portraying? You know, you're sitting here saying, you know, get these guns, shoot them, you know what I'm saying? And you're saying it's all fun and game, but where do you draw the line? Like, where is the line drawn? Like, you got to understand that the #1 killer of a black man is another black man. And all of our music is just promoting this. So where do we really draw the line? Where do we say that's enough? Where do we say that, no, we're not going to talk about Uzis and AK-47s and shootouts and drive-bys and our, you know, records? Why can't we talk about peace and love and happiness?
Well, it'll come up. It'll definitely come up when certain musicians decide to speak up on that.
These things.
You know, speak on these things.
Yeah, so I guess even go to say, like, effectively, like how affected are you by gun violence?
Well, it definitely touches home for me because it's a family and friend issue. You don't always get to see that person, when you think you'll see him, and when it happens to something as silly as another black man, harming another black man for grievances that could have been settled as two grown men, period, when the color doesn't matter. It hits home. But I'm sure it's like that in every city, like Detroit, LA, a lot of places. So.
Yeah.
It is. And so thing is, and I know, hearing, your story from your friend this summer, and I apologize for that, but just a brief little thing, how did gun violence affect you then?
How does gun violence affect me? I think, and not even now, like, cause we grown now, and these are things we've kind of been used to. But like growing up, like I feel like, seeing, even not even just saying like witnessing guns or like, but even just seeing guns, like your whole mindset and like the degree of anger and all these other negative emotions that you were withholding within yourself is just like, it changes you forever.
Yes, it does.
Like, simply said, like, it changes you forever.
Yeah. And thing is, what do you feel can put an end to the rapid gun violence that takes place each day in communities all over America?
It'll take enough people saying. It'll take enough people. When people see enough people care, it's like, what you gonna do?
They should get like a big magnet over Earth, and then just like all the guns just like.
And you just you hope that, and then but the thing is, in reality, we must understand that how just guns just affect us, just the violence and the control, and just even wrap it all up. When we're sitting here and we're losing friends, family each day in our communities, and we're sitting here hungry, and other things happen, and we're hoping, and one thing I watched is after Sandy Hook, how those people were at Congress crying, begging, we have to do something about these guns.
Yeah.
We have children slaughtered, dead, gone. And every day we're losing people, in our communities, regardless of age, regardless of race, we're losing people. So where does the value of a life come? And I think that's what gun control is all about, the value of a life.
Matter of fact, and I even say this to kind of, branch back into the collective right theory just quickly. Not even, I feel like for you to have regards about somebody else's life, you have to have something for your own life.
And that's most important. Well, that's about all the time we have today. First off,
thanks, man.
I really appreciate you brought so much to the table.
I appreciate that.
I just really want, one more. There you go. Get it going. Thanks for joining us, and I'm your host, Tony Fournier.
And I'm your host, Fly.
And you know what? That's where Black Thought.
Black Thought.